Cynical new low for the prince as he plots yet another fake royal trip overseas in a last shameless attempt to win over King Charles and make himself a frontline serving royal once again.
Every glamorous moment in Australia builds a shiny bubble around the real issue behind that glow. Critics say the situation looks shaky. The streaming partnership collapsed, and the financial base of the media brand now faces serious questions. What makes the moment even more dramatic is the contrast with the past. Back in 2018, their Australian tour was celebrated everywhere. Please subscribe, it cost you nothing, but it truly so much to me. It looked polished, successful, and powerful for the Sussex image. Now, 7 years later, the stakes feel very different. Many observers believe this visit is less about celebration and more about controlling public perception. Every flight to Sydney or Melbourne, every press photo, every appearance feels carefully planned.
Stop. They need to have lots of police and all sorts of people there to stop her doing that, to ruin that for the royal family, because she's not representing the United Kingdom one bit. She's representing herself, and I don't think she should be allowed to do that.
The real question is not whether this trip looks exciting or glamorous. The real question is whether it is doing its actual job keeping the world distracted, while a much bigger situation unfolds behind the scenes, because while the public sees bright Australia photos, stylish outfits, and public appearances, the reality behind those headlines looks far more complicated. First, there is Netflix. The deal that was supposed to lock Harry and Meghan in as major global content creators has fallen apart. Reports say Netflix stepped away from the partnership and ended the multi-million-dollar agreement. No renewals, no upcoming productions, no new projects waiting in the pipeline. Just a quiet end to the collaboration. The media empire that was meant to carry their brand forward suddenly stands on shaky ground. That is exactly why the timing of the Australia trip draws so much attention. But Netflix is not the only challenge being discussed. Their lifestyle brand, as ever, is also facing questions about product sales. Some reports claim there may be large amounts of unsold items like fruit spreads, candles, and other products.
Sees this trip as a potential game changer in his relationship with the family, and our source goes on to say Harry wants to turn heads, wow everyone, and show the royals what they're missing.
Earlier, headlines celebrated. Meghan's jam sells out in hours. But critics say the broader picture may be more complicated. Some stock is reportedly moving slowly, leaving products sitting in storage and raising concerns about costs. Then there is Arch, the foundation created to support charitable work. Public records show donations have dropped, while administrative expenses remain high. At one point, the organization was listed as delinquent in California before resolving the issue. All of this forms the financial backdrop that critics say the Australia headlines may be overshadowing with travel, buzz, and media attention. The timing almost feels surgical. Netflix steps away. Questions appear around as ever, and Arch faces scrutiny, just as reporters begin digging deeper. Boom! Harry and Meghan suddenly announce a high-profile trip to Australia. As instantly, the headlines flip direction stories.
Harry and Meghan Markle are once again proving why they are such a danger to the British royal family as the couple announced a tour of the Commonwealth of Australia. And now, while they're saying this is a mix of private, philanthropic, and business-related,
start focusing on fashion photos, glamorous arrivals, and celebrity-style moments, the conversation changes fast. Instead of talking about broken partnerships or financial pressure, the narrative becomes all about style, travel plans, and global influence. Look at the outfits. Look at the itinerary. Look at the international spotlight. Some insiders claim the PR push looks intense, almost rushed, as if the goal is to replace a difficult storyline with a dazzling spectacle. But critics argue that cracks eventually become impossible to ignore. A struggling media venture cannot stay hidden forever. Every bright headline from Sydney or Melbourne may act like a temporary shield for a moment. It keeps attention on glamorous appearances instead of deeper business questions. Yet behind the polished photos and smiling walk-ins, observers say a different story may be unfolding. Australia, in this view, becomes more than just another trip. It turns into a powerful distraction. A moment designed to buy time, while the public keeps watching, clicking, and sharing travel headlines. Because the louder the celebration around the tour becomes, the easier it is for many people to overlook the serious questions building behind the scenes, because behind every photo, every event, every glamorous story coming out of Australia, another reality may be quietly unfolding. Beneath the polished images and bright headlines, critics say the financial picture around the brand has been facing serious pressure. And this is where everything connects. The Australia trip, the headlines, the stylish public appearances, and all of it lands at the same moment. Several challenges are being discussed. Reports say the Netflix partnership ended. Questions have been raised about product sales from the as ever. Brand and Archwell has faced administrative scrutiny in public records.
Harry wants to be a frontline serving royal because he's bored in America and he's flat broke. Don't forget the deals are disappearing and Netflix have just pulled the plug.
Yet the headlines the public sees are very different. Red carpet-style photos, cocktail gatherings, fashionable appearances, and glamorous travel coverage dominate the conversation. That is the power of spectacle. Every arrival in Sydney or Melbourne, every planned photo opportunity, and every rumor about podcast visits or exclusive events helps push attention toward excitement instead of business concerns. Critics say the media narrative now focuses heavily on appearances, while deeper questions about partnerships and financial direction stay in the background. Because when a major deal ends, when product lines face scrutiny, and when a charitable foundation draws attention from regulators, people naturally start asking bigger questions. Questions about stability, credibility, and the long-term future of the brand. It matters because moments like this buy time. They reshape public perception and create the feeling that everything is still moving forward. But behind the scenes, critics say the pressure around the brand keeps growing from media ventures to business projects and charitable work. Questions keep appearing. The headlines shout excitement and glamour. Yet the deeper conversation looks far more complicated. This kind of narrative only works if people stay focused on the surface. If the audience watches the outfits, the travel photos, the glamorous entrances, and never stops to ask about the business side, Australia becomes the stage. The public becomes the audience, and the bigger story involving Netflix as ever, and Archwell stays just outside the spotlight. While cameras flash and headlines celebrate the visit, another conversation quietly waits in the background. The end of a major streaming partnership. Questions about product sales and scrutiny around a foundation's records. Those are the issues. Critics say remain unresolved. So when Harry and Meghan appear for photos on a sunny Sydney pier, and when media coverage focuses on style events and celebrity moments, remember there may be more happening beneath the surface. Behind every polished headline, observers point to a deal that ended products, that raised sales questions, and a charity that faced administrative challenges in that light. The Australia trip looks less like a simple visit and more like a powerful spotlight shift, a dazzling wave of travel coverage that temporarily pulls attention away from tougher conversations. Every arrival, every glamorous appearance, every press photo adds another layer to that distraction. And the longer the world focuses on the excitement in Australia, the less attention may fall on the deeper issues unfolding behind the curtain. As the headlines keep rolling and social media fills with travel photos and event coverage, one thing becomes clear. The brand is facing serious questions. Major partnerships have changed, and the future direction of the empire remains uncertain. If you found this breakdown interesting, make sure to like the video. Drop your thoughts in the comments and share it with someone who follows royal news. And don't forget to subscribe to Palace Insider for more deep dives into the stories making headlines every week. And just as quickly, the media narrative appeared to shift. In the days following renewed discussion about the status of Meghan Markle's partnership with Netflix, attention in some outlets and online commentary moved towards speculation about a possible international comeback moment. Reports and rumors began circulating that the upcoming Australia visit could include media appearances, including a potential podcast interview linked to Australian broadcaster Jackie O. Henderson and her show, Her Best Life. There has been no official confirmation of such appearances. However, media analysts note that even unverified reports can play a role in shaping public anticipation. In the modern publicity cycle, speculation itself can generate headlines, social media engagement, and renewed interest in public figures. Some commentators argue that high-profile travel plans, especially to major cities like Sydney and Melbourne, can quickly redirect coverage. Images of public appearances, fashion choices, and charity engagements often dominate lifestyle and entertainment reporting, sometimes pushing more complex business discussions out of the immediate spotlight. The broader context for this discussion is the perception that the Sussexes' post-royal media strategy has relied heavily on large-scale partnerships and sustained public visibility. Now, industry observers have pointed out that the streaming agreement with Netflix was widely viewed as a cornerstone of that strategy. Questions about the long-term strength of their media ventures have therefore gained traction in recent months, particularly as details about future projects remain limited. Against that backdrop, some public relations specialists suggest that major international appearances can serve multiple purposes. They can reinforce an image of global relevance, demonstrate ongoing philanthropic engagement, and signal continued momentum, regardless of business uncertainties. From this perspective, announcing a trip before all logistical details are finalized is not uncommon. Broad phrases such as private business meetings and charitable engagements allow flexibility while still creating a compelling headline. But critics interpret the timing more skeptically, viewing the Australia announcement as a potential narrative reset, a way to shift attention away from perceived setbacks. Supporters, by contrast, argue that the couple's international activities are consistent with their established focus on advocacy and global initiatives, and that speculation about motives often exceeds the available evidence. For now, much about the trip remains unclear. Specific venues, confirmed partner organizations, and a detailed itinerary have yet to be publicly outlined. Whether the visit ultimately becomes a major media event or a more low-key series of engagements will likely shape how the broader story evolves. What is evident is how quickly the conversation has moved. In a media environment driven by rapid news cycles and viral speculation, a single announcement can reframe public discussion almost overnight, turning focus from business questions to anticipation of appearances, interviews, and global visibility. Every glamorous moment in Australia can create a powerful media image. But behind the spotlight, some commentators argue that deeper questions about Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's post-royal media strategy are still unfolding. In recent weeks, discussion has intensified around the status of their partnership with Netflix, which had previously been viewed as a cornerstone of their transition into global content production. Shifting headlines and changing perceptions. Observers note that high-profile international visits often generate a wave of lifestyle coverage, fashion commentary, travel features, and in-public appearance updates that can quickly reshape the media narrative. In contrast to their widely celebrated 2018 Australian Royal Tour, analysts say the context today is very different. Back then, the trip was framed as part of their official duties and was broadly covered as a success. Now, without formal royal roles, similar travel plans are interpreted through a more complex lens. Some media commentators suggest the current visit could be partly about maintaining visibility and influence at a time when business ventures are under scrutiny. Questions around business ventures. Reports that Netflix has scaled back or ended aspects of its collaboration with the couple have prompted speculation about the long-term sustainability of their media projects. While the full details of future productions remain unclear, and industry watchers say large streaming deals often shape perceptions of brand momentum. At the same time, discussion has also touched on the couple's broader commercial activities. Commentators have raised questions about the performance of lifestyle products associated with their ventures, though concrete sales figures have not been publicly confirmed. In many cases, such debates are fueled more by online analysis and anonymous sourcing than by verified financial disclosures. Scrutiny of charitable work. Attention has also turned toward the couple's nonprofit organization, Archewell Foundation. Public filings in California previously indicated administrative compliance issues that were later resolved. Some critics have pointed to fluctuations in donation levels and operating costs as part of a wider conversation about the foundation's impact and transparency. Supporters counter that many charities experience similar reporting challenges and evolving funding patterns. Timing and narrative strategy. Public relations experts often note that major announcements, such as international trips, partnerships, or new initiatives, can influence the direction of media coverage. In fast-moving news cycles, high-visibility events may temporarily draw attention away from more technical business discussions. From this perspective, the Australia visit can be interpreted in multiple ways. For supporters, it represents continued global engagement and philanthropic outreach. For skeptics, it appears as a strategic attempt to reinforce a positive narrative during a period of uncertainty, a broader debate about brand identity. Ultimately, the conversation surrounding the trip reflects a larger debate about the Sussexes' evolving public role. Without formal royal duties, their influence now depends heavily on media ventures, advocacy work, and public perception. Some analysts argue that maintaining a strong international profile is essential for sustaining partnerships and opportunities. Others believe unresolved questions about long-term strategy, from streaming projects to charitable initiatives, will continue to shape how their brand is viewed. As headlines focus on appearances in Sydney or Melbourne, the underlying discussion about business direction, credibility, and future influence remains active. Whether the visit strengthens their public standing or simply shifts attention temporarily is likely to become clearer only over time.